Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Lately, my Question the Narrative videos have been focusing more on history from several centuries ago, or at least a couple centuries ago. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is something that is a bit more contemporary, but it's still something that is worth looking into, and that is Event 201. Now, the reason that I decided to do this was because I was talking to someone on Twitter the other day, and they had asked for proof that someone said something. So I linked to a video by Dr. Birx, and the person replied that they would not believe anything unless it came from the CDC or from Johns Hopkins University. So just hearing Johns Hopkins University, it kind of triggered for me the role that they played in Event 201. So I know that a lot of people actually haven't heard of it or haven't really looked too much into it, but there's a lot of really interesting things about it. So we're going to just kind of go on a bunch of rabbit trails with Event 201 today. So, Event 201. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise on October 18th, 2019 in New York, New York. And I just want to kind of highlight that date that they did this pandemic exercise. October 18th, 2019, and I believe it was December of 2019 that the first cases of COVID started to be picked up in China. So this pandemic exercise was actually held 2 months before that. Let's move on. The exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to get together and they kind of wanted to act this out, how they would respond to a pandemic, which again, coincidentally, was 2 months before an actual pandemic was set to start. So let's just go on to about, if you want to come onto this website yourself, you can gladly do that. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, just some interesting things. So about the Event 201 exercise. Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global business, government, and public health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. The exercise consisted of pre-recorded news broadcasts, live staff briefings, and moderated discussions on specific topics. These issues were carefully designed in a compelling narrative that educated the participants and the audience. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, World Economic Forum, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation jointly proposed these recommendations. So again, they got together and they just tried to figure out how they would respond to such a situation. And you can actually, if you go on here, it will tell you like the recommendations that were left, that they came up with. Like, for example, here are some of the call to actions that they came up with in October of 2019 in the event of a pandemic. So the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, World Economic Forum, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation jointly proposed the following. Governments, international organizations, and businesses should plan now for how essential corporate capabilities will be utilized during a large-scale pandemic. And then it goes on just to describe how that should happen. And again, I'm not going to read through all of these. You can gladly come through and look at it. There's a lot to read. I'll just read the second one here. Industry, national governments, and international organizations should work together to enhance internationally held stockpiles of medical countermeasures to enable rapid and equitable distribution during a severe pandemic. And again, it just goes on. Now, I just wanted to head back to, I think it was in the About section because they actually gave the names for some of the previous exercises. They've done pandemic exercises in the past. One of them was called Clade X. And if you click on that, that will take you to that pandemic exercise. So this isn't the first one. The timing is just what seems, a little puzzling. I'll just say that. So then we click on Atlantic Storm, and that tells you about Atlantic Storm when they did that one. And then the reason that I didn't click on this one is because I noticed that this one was called Dark Winter. So when you click on this pandemic exercise, there's nothing there. Error 404. And that seems really interesting to me because a while back, Biden had warned of a dark winter in America. Let's see. Joe Biden, and this was from October 22nd, 2020, Joe Biden warned at Thursday night's presidential debate that the U.S. was about to go into a dark winter, echoing the concerns of public health experts who caution about increased daily COVID-19 case counts converging with the annual flu season. So I just found it interesting that the one that you couldn't click on just happened to be the one that Biden had mentioned back in October. So it could be a coincidence. I don't know. I just found that interesting. Okay, so I'm not going to go too much into who Johns Hopkins is because most of you know who that is. It's like a university, and it's medical. They train doctors, and it's all about medicine. What I want to look at is that it was also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, because Bill Gates has really been heavily into the COVID response. So first of all, let's just take a quick look at who Bill Gates is. So William Henry Gates III is an American business magnate, software developer, investor, author, and philanthropist. Now, he's a lot of things. But one thing I do notice is that he was never trained as a medical doctor. He hasn't been trained in the medical field at all, at least according to this. Yet he seems to have been very involved in the response to COVID. So we have here COVID vaccine. Bill Gates says J&J Novavax shots can, what will it say? Have a lot of capability against variants. I'm just going to read some of the headlines. Bill Gates fighting COVID easy compared to climate crisis. Bill Gates slams Trump's COVID-19 advisor as pseudoscience, I'm assuming that would say. Bill Gates says U.S. can avoid a fall wave of COVID-19. So he has been used as an advisor, but I found it to be very odd that he actually isn't a doctor, but he does seem to be someone who not only was heavily involved in the Event 201 exercise, but he's basically directing a lot of the stuff that is happening. So here is, first of all, let's look into this. Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. So this was their tweet on October 16th, 2019. Have you registered for the Event 201 virtual pandemic exercise yet? See the story of Event 201 play out in real time and answer tough questions that could arise in a severe pandemic. Register today and be entered to win one of our Event 201 giant microbes. And so we've got this right here. And so after the pandemic actually started and people found this, they were like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are they handing out plushies at something that happened 2 months before anything happened? So there is actually a PolitiFact on it. There was a fact check done on it. And it was found to be mostly false. That Event 201 gave out stuffed souvenir coronavirus toys to commemorate novel coronavirus outbreak. So that's what they were saying, was that it was done to commemorate the outbreak. And so the reason that it was mostly false is that it says these plushies do not commemorate the 2019 novel coronavirus strain. So here's their fact check on this plushie situation that happened 2 months before COVID happened in December. The toy at the center of the controversy is supposed to be a coronavirus microbe. So it's not specifically COVID-19 according to this. It is just coronavirus. Event 201 offered the plushies to people who registered to attend an October 2019 gathering that was designed to help plan for a global pandemic that happened 2 months later by bringing together business, government, and public health leaders. Event 201 used a fictionalized coronavirus outbreak as its pandemic scenario, but did not predict the outbreak of a strain that would be detected 2 months later in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. Nothing to see here. Micro plushies representing a number of diseases are widely available for sale. The Event 201 plushies were not intended to commemorate the toll that the coming outbreak would bring, and our rating is mostly false. So that is what they had to say again about this little plushie here that was being given away by Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, one of the organizers of Event 201. So now we talked a little bit about Bill Gates, and we just showed this little tweet here from Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. Let's just look at the World Economic Forum, the third person who was heavily involved, one of the people who ran Event 201. So the World Economic Forum says that it is the International Organization for Public and Private Cooperation. And I found it very interesting that they have a vision for what 2030 should look like. So we're going to look at that and we're going to see what they have to say. So before I even start this, the World Economic Forum had tweeted, and they actually, I believe they deleted this tweet now, but they said, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. This is how our world could change by 2030. And as we're looking at this, I just want you to think about all of these stimulus stipends that we keep receiving now. And I know that there are a lot of people who do need them because they are out of work, but I think it's something that we do need to be very careful about. But let me just play this. I'm not going to play the sound, but I'll just narrate it more or less. So he says, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. We won't transplant organs, we'll print new ones instead. You'll eat much less meat." Now, here, I actually wanted to stop here, just pause here for a second, because if we go back to Bill Gates, let me see. Bill Gates thinks we should start eating 100% synthetic beef. So let's just look here again. What does that say? So World Economic Forum, who we know is linked to Bill Gates just simply through Event 201, is saying that by 2030, we'll be eating much less meat. And here we have Bill Gates saying that we should start eating 100% synthetic beef. Linked to that, we also have Bill Gates owns 242,000 acres of farmland, making him America's biggest private farmland owner. So he just bought up a bunch of farmland and he now owns all of this. And again, you just have to, and this just happened recently, actually. So see, this was from January 15th, 2021. And I'm going to go right back here. You'll eat much less meat. Thinks we should eat synthetic meat. And biggest private farmland owner now. So there really are a lot of very interesting things that have come out of my little investigation into Event 201. I'm sure that I could find even more stuff if I would keep looking at it. But I just really wanted to bring this to your attention because this is something that a lot of people don't know about. They don't even realize that it's happening. So, or that it did happen, I should say. So anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram because I'm so used to saying that, YouTube has not been disabling my comments, although now they might. And anyway, if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.